Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Scott's laughing because I proclaimed that I'm tech savvy now.
Yeah,
with the mouse.
After 10 months, going on 11 months, so it's all good.
Okay, we promised that we would explain tariffs. We're going to do that today. A tariff.
This was a learning experience for me as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I always thought the tariffs were just something that countries automatically did on goods and stuff, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So
there's nuanced. And I took international trade law in law school. Completely fascinating. Had to do with the GATT. And we'll talk about GATT. A tariff, at the most basic level, is a tax charged on goods or services as they move from one country to another, and is a form of governmental revenue. So the Democrats are right in saying that it's a tax, but they're implying that it's a tax against us, and it's not. It's a tax imposed on the country that's importing goods to us. And we'll explain why. You may also see them referred to as a customs duty, as the term is often used interchangeably with tariff. Tariffs are typically charged by the country importing the goods. So import is coming in, export is going out.
Right.
So Chile
learn that in elementary school, right?
Not me.
Oh.
This was a good elementary school.
No, yeah. We learned about imports and exports, elementary school. So
maybe grade school for me. So, for example, Chile, they have llamas, right? And that fur is really coveted because it's soft and it's warm, right? For the most part, we don't have llamas. I mean, there are farmers and ranchers that do have some llamas, but Chile really has llamas, right? So when they're sending their stuff, when we're importing their llama hats and sweaters in, the government could put a tariff on it because we just don't make that kind of stuff here. I mean, mass produce it. Okay, let me keep going. They serve two purposes, tariffs. Economically, they generate revenue for the importing country, and we're talking about us, so it will be revenue for us, for the government, right? And protect home-based industries producing those same goods. The biggest example is steel. I mean, we use steel in everything: doors, frames, hardware, cars, planes. I mean, it's pretty much used.
Plumbing material.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So we want to protect because we have steel workers, the Rust Belt. It's called the Rust Belt because, go back inside, son.
Go back inside. And it used to be, that was our deal, right? I mean, we were strong in that industry.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah, not so much. Remember those iron workers? You'd see the classic photo of the iron workers in New York City, way up on that beam, having lunch
50, 100 stories high. Just walking around on those narrow beams. And
so it protects our goods because foreign countries like China will undercut the price, right, to sell. And so we slap a tariff on that so that we keep buying American. It makes it more difficult for them to sell.
Right. And as we're going to talk about, it in the past has created some issues economically and politically. We've had countries that have had that are shipping us steel. I was in the plumbing supply business for about 30 years, and we had issues sometimes where we didn't have steel pipe to sell. And steel pipe was, that before they came up with a flexible gas line and stuff, that was the way you ran gas in a home or a building.
Black pipe, black iron,
black steel, yeah. And they would hold those ships up. They'd hold them up because there were issues, and it caused some problems. In the building industry, right? Yeah. Supply chain, right?
Yeah, and like, for example, we ship a lot of agriculture over to. We export agriculture, and so some countries, China or Russia, might put a tariff on that just to get into a trade war. Slap a tariff on that.
Yeah. And one thing about beef.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I mean, we produce a lot of beef here, and there are some countries that don't. And yeah, that's something that they impose on that industry. So
some tariffs, called protective tariffs, charge a higher tax on imported goods, so the domestically produced versions of the same goods can be sold at a more competitive price. Domestically produced.
Right. So in contrast to protective tariffs, revenue tariffs exist primarily to raise money on goods that are not produced domestically, allowing the government to invest in other resources. For example, non-protective tariffs include import taxes on oil produced elsewhere or products that are only produced in other countries, like kind of like what we were just talking
Yeah,
about.
and it's sad that we have to put a tariff on oil because we were oil independent 4 years ago.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
we didn't have to buy oil from Venezuela, beg the Saudis to sell it to us.
Yeah, and technically we still don't have to do that, but we do, and it's just
It's the
because of
war on
policy,
energy. Yeah.
policy of
Government policy.
government policy, right?
So tariffs have grown and evolved as modern world trade has advanced. Starting in the mid 20th century, large-scale international trade has grown exponentially. You know, as technology, you know, ships, you know, we go from sail to steam to, I guess, steam. I mean, we don't have nuclear-powered merchant ships.
Right.
Starting in the mid 20th century, one of the earliest attempts to regulate world trade was the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades, GATT, G-A-T-T, in 1948. That's big we still refer to that document. And there's been updates to that document, which sought to open negotiations, set international standards, and reduce tariffs to encourage trade. Before the Wild Wild West, countries would just, well, I'm pissed at you, so I'm going to throw a tariff so that your stuff, nobody will buy your stuff in our country.
Right.
You know? However,
or just not allowed in, right?
Right.
Just say, we're not allowing that.
Yeah. They could do that too. However, the GATT was not a permanent world trade solution, leading to the largest international trade negotiation in history, the Uruguay round. Try and say that 3 times fast. The Uruguay round. As a result of the Uruguay round, which lasted from 1986 to 1994.
So fairly recent.
Yeah. And it's been updated after that. The World Trade Organization, WTO, you probably heard of that, was created to supervise and manage international trade and tariffs. Completely fascinating what they do. I mean, they're like the arbiters, you know. And if you've got a problem with like it's a trade war and you think it's not right or it's not according to the GATT, you petition the WTO to mediate that and resolve it.
And I'm sure that never happens, right? They never have to do that. They're probably very busy, right? The way our world is right now. So,
but it takes a long time. But they do get mediated, and it's a final decision. There's no appeal. I mean, there's no like a higher appellate process.
Yeah, let's hope that they're a little bit more honest in their dealings than say the WHO, right?
Yeah, the WTO, it pretty much from my studies are they're fair.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. For the first time, it was not just goods that were subject to international trade rules and tariffs. Services and intellectual property, like designs and technology, were included as well.
Interesting.
Jesus, he can't really was taking that shovel and throwing it over, and then he gets it on himself.
So tariffs mainly benefit the importing countries as they are the ones setting the policy and receiving the money. The primary benefit is that tariffs produce revenue on goods and services brought into the country. Tariffs can also serve as an opening point for negotiations between two countries. So the GATT and the WTO and other trade agreements use regulation of tariffs as a way to bring nations together to determine economic policy.
Yeah.
We saw that pretty openly in the Trump administration, right? He was all about that, negotiating deals. So tariffs can also support a nation's political goals.
Like you were saying,
Yep, and help the country stabilize or regulate its own industries. A government can set taxes on domestic products that are in line with international tariffs to level the playing field. Tariffs can make a market predictable. A prime example of this is the agricultural trade, which is subject to quotas, import limitations, and tariffs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of that probably because it's perishable, you know.
Right.
So.
Well, you go to the grocery store, and I mean, you see all kind, because it's I don't remember how many years ago, but they had a tag where the fruit or the produce
Ecuadorian pineapple or whatever.
Yeah, Chile or
Mexico.
Yeah, bananas from
Mexico. Yeah, bananas from Mexico.
It's obviously that's a big deal. You know, where we I don't know why exactly, but we have those agreements with those countries that will buy that product. Maybe it's because of price or some other kind of an agreement. I don't know, but we could produce most of that stuff here. I mean, we're the promised land. We have agricultural areas that are just robust, but yet we choose not to do that. We choose to bring those.
Jerry
things
Nadler
in.
would say because we don't have people to pick the.
Yeah, give me you had to
break.
bring up old Jerry, didn't you? Just, anyway.
So I wanted to say that prior to the European Union forming, we had agreements with Spain and France and Britain and Greece, and now that they're in a union, partially they did that for trade, right? To get better pricing on trade. That's partial. The flip side to that is they created the euro, which every country had to stabilize their income. I mean, the euro might be much more expensive than the Czech koruna, right? Or the lira, the Italian lira. So that was the drawback to that. And you could still go to the Czech Republic and spend korunas, or go to Italy and spend liras.
Their currency.
They'll take both. Yeah. Tariffs can antagonize existing issues between governments, leading to consequences that are political as well as economic. China devalues their currency, and it's twofold: is to make their money more stronger. Yes, but it messes with the international marketplace. It does. So they've done that several times. A famous example of tariffs changing the global political scene is the American Revolutionary War. One of the main issues, remember this, driving a wedge between Britain and its American colonists was the high tariffs placed on goods shipped to the colonists. The Townshend Acts, passed in Parliament, established high tariffs on the colonies, who had no say in the measures. The Boston Tea Party.
Yep.
No taxation without representation became a rallying cry for the colonists and helped fuel the resentment that led to the American Revolutionary War.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a big deal.
Boston Tea Party.
Yep.
Threw it in the bay.
Yeah, just put it in the harbor, yeah. So the politics involved in tariffs can also trigger escalating trade conflicts between countries in modern times as well, like we said. So in 2018, the United States implemented protective tariffs on steel and other imported goods from around the world.
That's during Trump's time. Yeah, remember he did China, tariffs on Chinese steel.
Yeah, that was part of his. Yeah, that was part of his political campaign, right? Going in, that was one of his platforms. He was tired of the U.S. getting hosed by other countries, and then these other guys not paying their fair share. So anyway, other nations, particularly in the European Union and China, found this problematic, saying that they would add new tariffs on U.S. products like motorcycles, orange juice, and bourbon as a result.
Yeah, tit for tat, right?
Yeah. So at the time, European Union Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström called it a dangerous game on the world stage.
Yeah, and it could be. I mean, these trade wars could be.
They could, yeah.
Gets people upset, countries.
Right. And I mean, again, some of those things that we just listed there are what do you call it? They're not needs, they're wants. But when you're talking about stopping industry because of a steel embargo, or cars not being shipped in, which is going to affect everybody, right? The dealership, people that have businesses around the dealership, because you're not going to be able to have those cars sell, going to have layoffs. Yeah. I mean, it's a domino effect that I don't think a lot of people think about. Restaurants that are feeding those people that work every day. I mean, it's crazy.
But Scott's right. I mean, the most innocuous little thing that a foreign government jacks up the price, just a little widget that we have to use in whatever, right. And it escalates this, this trade war.
Right.
I mean, I've studied those examples, and it's crazy, these little widgets that they get bent out of shape about.
Yeah. Well, think about something as simple as in our life nowadays is a cell phone. Okay. Cell phones are produced in countries that are paying their people garbage wages, right?
Yeah, like China. I mean, Apple. Does Apple still manufacture in China?
I believe so. Yeah. So if they were to jack up their labor prices like we have here, what would that do to the price of an iPhone? Or I don't know where other phones are made too. They may be made there as well. I mean, it would cause an iPhone, which right around what, $1,000 right now for an iPhone. North of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Shows. I mean, I'm walking around with an SE.
Why do you think you pay $200 for your cell phone bill per month? It's because you're paying that
off, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's say it's $1,500. So they start paying wages like we have here. That phone is going to triple in price. I
Yeah.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
And
it could.
And that's going to cause a lot of people to not to have a cell phone, except if somebody, because of the free market and capitalistic society that we have, would come up with a cheaper phone. Everybody would go to that cheaper phone because they still want the service. But yeah, it would cause a lot of problems. You know, people that are selling those phones. I don't know. It's just, like I said, a domino effect.
So I want to comment. You're talking about cell phones. I just purchased a couple months ago, 6 months ago, I purchased a Ryoko Wi-Fi router, the little puck thing that you can go out and then you can hook to it.
Yeah.
Cameron, get out of here. Go. And made in Lithuania, right? And so it wasn't working right, so I tried sending it back. I spent the $40 to put it in the mail to get it back there, and they just returned to sender. No, we're not taking it back. You know, and because they're Lithuanian. Now I go to my bank and say, hey, these guys are shysters. Yeah, and try and get the money. And it's a loss to the bank because the money's already paid. The bank's not going to go after this Lithuanian dude or whatever.
Yeah.
So it ends up being a loss to the bank, and they credit me the money, you know?
Well, hopefully they will.
Yeah, I got the credit.
You already got the credit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. Because I had to kind of go through a little deal like that.
I'll probably use it as a white elephant gift or something like that. I asked the bank, do you want me to give you these? I've got no problem giving you them. Oh, no, it's okay.
So this didn't work.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work as advertised. You had to use their service. And the service was jacked up on price and stuff. And they touted it as you can go to foreign countries and get free, Wi-Fi, which I didn't, free cellular, which on the puck, which I didn't test because, we didn't go
to a foreign country.
Yeah, but when they started making me buy their service, I was like, come on, man, no. All right, tariffs help shape world markets and relationships on a daily basis. Government trade negotiations may seem pretty distant from most of our everyday lives, but like you were saying, Scott, but we buy products affected by tariffs every day: food, clothing.
Yeah,
like manufactured in Vietnam. I remember that was big.
How much? Yeah, when was the last time you went to any place and bought clothes and you looked at the tag and it said "Made in the USA"? I mean, it just.
It's usually.
I mean, it would be great if we could do that, but it's because they don't have the labor prices like they do in other countries, which is sad, but it is what it is. So
food, clothes, cars, Toyota and other cars, Lamborghinis, electronics, and more. The prices of these products may be protected by import tariffs if the product is also produced domestically, or the price may be increased by tariffs if it comes from another country. Even if we cannot see the tariff negotiations going on behind everything we use, know that they exist and they're constantly guiding our consumption from behind the scenes. Harris attacks Trump over tariffs, but she intends to reform international tax rules. We saw that on the slide yesterday. She doesn't explain how to accomplish the reform, but it sounds like code for tariffs because, like an international tax, it's revenue for the importing government.
Yeah, it's almost like a code word for them when they use the word tax, or they use the word revenue, or they use the word tariff. It just doesn't mean the same as it actually is. It's
they think voters are dumb, and they try to twist, and it's almost like the adversary. The counterfeit. He tries to twist things, right? The meaning.
Well, and they're impressed with her word salad responses to some of these questions that are
speaking without thinking. She has a shaman to help her with that.
Yeah,
we did a segment on that.
Well, I saw a cut of her being interviewed, or no, she was talking at a rally, and there was a woman behind her mouthing the words that she was saying. She was saying it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. And the lady saw that she was on the camera and immediately shut up and had this totally different look on her face, like oops, caught. like she was either reading the prompter or she helped her write those comments.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. And think about think about what I was going to say. The sign interpreter that's trying to translate her gibberish. You just give the Air Force salute.
Oh well.
Twerp, I'm going to hear from you, Twerp. I know I am. Hopefully,
vote them out, folks.
Aus,
get them out.
Aus, Hans, aus.
Less than 2 weeks, right?
All right, thanks, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.